Welcome to Karibu Anawim's 15 Minutes at Dr. Zayli's Desk special. Join us as we dive into the topics related to living with a facial disfigurement. Whether you're here for yourself, your loved ones, or for educational and professional insights, this is for you. We start our conversation with clear, understandable terminology. While we use disfigurement, it's for medical and legal clarity. We acknowledge you may relate to terms like visible difference or your own diagnoses. All our presenters have lived experience or work with people living with facial disfigurement. Curious to know more? So are we. Pull up a seat, grab a cuppa, and let's chat around the table with Karibu Anawim's 15 Minutes at Dr. Zayli's Desk special.
G'day guys, and welcome back. This is part 2 of an interview with Autumn. Autumn has Freeman-Sheldon syndrome, and if you would like to, you can get to have a chat about what Freeman-Sheldon syndrome is in part 1. And she is the 36th person in the world to be diagnosed with this, out of around 200 people so far in the world that we know of.
Hello.
So welcome. Welcome again.
Thanks.
And this time, last time we spoke about Freeman-Sheldon syndrome. We spoke about the many surgical operations that you have had. That it doesn't actually just affect your face. You've got 2 club feet as well. Do you still have that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so they tried to fix it when I was 15 after I stopped growing. They did a surgery called triple arthrodesis, and it basically they take all your bones in your feet because my feet weren't really flat or straight, and they just rearrange all the bones in your feet and fuse them. So it's like walking in ski boots. It's like I can't bend my feet at all. They're just like totally fused. So I can walk normally. People don't really notice, but yeah, it's a challenge, especially on uneven surfaces and things like that.
Do you have to have special shoes made?
No, I wear normal shoes, but I can't wear heels or anything with they have to be flat,
I don't see why you should these days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Heels are anyway. And then we spoke a little bit about mental health and how your mental health was not asked about when you were little, going through all these surgeries, some of them necessary for functionality of opening your mouth, getting your eyes open, and then some of them may not have been necessarily, but your mum was thinking that the more normal you look, the less issues that you're going to have. So she took you to surgeon after surgeon after surgeon, and that led to PTSD and DID. Yeah, dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, which was all discussed previously. In beautiful, and you expressed yourself beautifully, and I hope that someone out there who has issues and saying, I don't remember this between here and this, or I've, like you said, you text people and you had a friend that was angry at you and you didn't know why she was angry at you. That was a part that came out because of some issue, that someone might go, oh, this might be what I have, and find a therapist that actually knows how to operate and work with parts, not normal parts like inner child stuff. It's a little bit more complex than inner child stuff. This time you would like to talk about AI and artificial intelligence and facial recognition. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, this
What's
obviously
your experiences?
it's a big issue that's come up lately, and so I had a personal experience that sort of was a catalyst for me to then get really involved in it. But it was August of 2024, which, gosh, that's a long time ago now. I went to in the U.S. we call it the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is, where you get your driver's license. And I was just going to get my driver's license renewed. No big deal. You never, you're just like, whatever. And so I went, and they're like, oh, we need to do no photo. And so I was like, okay. And they had me stand up where they have like the little screen and they take the little photo. And then, they took the photo and they're like, oh, all right, so stand there again. Look at the dot, do another photo. And they're like looking at their computer screen. And then, okay, let's do it again. This time, make sure you're looking at the dot. I'm like, I'm looking at the dot. Like, what do you see me? I'm right in front of you. What do you think I'm doing? So they keep taking the photo. And I heard a lady when she's on her computer and she talks to the lady next to her, like the other DMV staff. She's like, she's like, oh, and she said, oh, it keeps getting rejected. And so then they're like, let's try it again. All right, stand there. Let's do a picture. And so meanwhile, like 10 photos had been taken. And I start to think, oh my goodness.
You start to twig. Like, is it my face? Is it my face?
Think so. Yeah, I was like, something. So obviously they're having difficulty and it's not accepting my, it's accepting my face. So I said to them, like, look, I have this facial condition and I think that maybe the system is not, registering my face as a face. And so they kept taking, this is ridiculous because they kept just thought somehow if we keep taking photos, one of these is going to work. Well, that was ridiculous. It was like photo after photo. I think it was at least 20 photos. And they're like, again, they're like, look at the dot. I'm like, I am looking at the dot. Like, what do you think I'm doing? And meanwhile, the way the DMV set up, everyone's sitting in chairs when they're waiting and they're like facing where the people are at the counter. So like the entire place is like watching me and get all these photos taken. And it felt so like I was on, the stage or something. It was this whole ridiculous situation. Yeah. And so the ladies, she's still trying to get it to work, rejected. And then she brings another lady over and they're like fussing on the computer. It took forever. It's a good like 15 minutes. And again, I'm like, look, I really think this is my face.
Meanwhile, everyone, you're feeling like everyone's staring at you. And
also, they're all watching.
And also the people who are behind you are getting pretty impatient and ticked off at the fact
they call the numbers. Yeah, they call by numbers. Yeah. So it's a weird thing. But like still, everyone's like, why is this lady taking forever? Like I'm hogging the counter.
I'm next in line. Hurry up. Just take a
I know.
Photo.
Like, what the heck? And so then so they kept, bringing in more staff people. And then finally, they were able to get like the boss's boss to come and override it. And it went through. But the whole thing was just like super ridiculous. And again, it was definitely that it was not like registering that my face was a face. And so they overrid it and I was able to get my driver's license. But again, that experience did not need to be, that was not necessary.
When you went out into the car, how did you feel about that?
I was really, I cried. I was like, because it was like one of those situations where it's like, I go through life most of the time and it's like not really, it's like a reminder that you're different. It was like, here this is big. I just thought it was going to be a daily, just a run of the mill day and get my license. And it turned into this big, ridiculous charade. And so I cried, but then I also did, because I'm involved politically in my town, I'm very connected with our legislators on the state level. And so I called one of I'm also friends, connected with her. And so I had no problem calling her. She's a state representative for the state of Connecticut. And I told her, I was like, look, I'm at the DMV and they took my photo. It didn't work. They had to do all these, multiple photographs. And she goes, okay, we've got a problem. We need to fix this. And so she immediately, within a day, had called the attorney general for the state and the DMV commissioner, which is the person that runs all of the Department of Motor Vehicles for the whole state. And they sat down and she said, she told me later about their meeting and she said, hey, I've got this constituent. She's got a facial difference. The scan, the face scan, the AI system did not, register her face. And apparently the two of them that she was with, they said, oh my gosh, like we never thought of this. They said, we thought about, different skin colors. We thought about people wearing hijab. We thought about all the different things, but we didn't even realize, it never crossed our minds about facial differences. So they instituted immediately a protocol for the DMV, so that if anyone's photo does not work after two pictures, anybody on staff can override it, so that they don't have to go through the 50,000 photos and stuff like that, which is great. It's amazing. They also did, at the time, they were rolling out AI facial recognition at the State House in Hartford. And so they actually paused that whole program and went back and tried to change it so that because they're actually, there was like apparently one of the legislators wears like an eye patch, and another one has, so like they were like, we need to fix this on the state level so that people with facial differences don't get have to deal with this. So yeah, it was nice that I was able to like reach out to her right away, and we were able to change things in the state of Connecticut. But that's only Connecticut. There's 50 other states, and there's the whole world, so that's just one little step in the process. So since then, I've been very outspoken about it. I met with Face Equality International, which is an organization. It's a coalition of facial difference organizations around the world, and they're based in the UK. They're amazing. They do advocacy. They're basically focusing on facial difference as sort of a human rights issue. So they work on stigma, advocacy. They're amazing. So I met with them, and they were doing a campaign, and they were doing a study about people with facial differences and how their interactions and challenges with AI. And so, I talked to them directly, and we came up, I actually, at that point too, I wrote up a media pitch, because I was like, this story needs to be told. And so I wrote a media pitch, and I sent it out all over the place. And we were able to get Wired magazine actually to do an article about it. So yeah, if you look it up, it was out in October of 2025. I don't remember the title of the article, but
you sent it to me, and you couldn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't get in because
because it's a paywall.
Yeah.
But if you haven't looked at Wired magazine before, you have like 5 free views of it. So they did a great article about it. But yeah, we wanted to get the message out. And since then I've been working with, Face Equality. But the funny thing is that, well, not funny, but after I got my driver's license renewed, I also had to get my passport done. And I had the same problem with the passport. So I go and here in the US, you go to like the little drugstore places, and they have like the camera and the lady does it, but it would not register. I went to 2 different places. It would not register my face either. And she was like, it was like a grid thing, and I saw even on her screen it was like error, and it was like, this is not a face. And so she kept trying to have me like tilt my head and do other things, and nothing would work. So that was at Walgreens, and they were like, they could not get it to work. So then I went to CVS, which is another drugstore, and I told the lady, I was like, look, I need to get a photo taken, but the other store, it like did not work. And she's like, we got this. So she was able to like do whatever fancy thing she did, and was able to get it to go through. So I was able to get my passport and everything. But it's like just extra, hurdles that, are just totally ridiculous.
I've recently gone overseas, and I've thought, oh my gosh, am I, because you have to scan your face these days.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh crumbs, even mine. People say to me, oh, it's just an eye. What have you got? What's wrong? You're still pretty, or you're still gorgeous. And it's like, yes, I know that I'm attractive. Yes, I know it's an eye. However, don't diminish my lived experience, because one day, out of all, would you believe, Autumn, out of all the qualitative, which is the touchy-feely kind of research that's out there, this person came to me and emailed me and said, I've read your autoethnography, which is basically for people who don't understand what autoethnography is. It's basically a study of yourself in an environment. So I wrote 4 vignettes of my life, or 4 short little stories of my life, and then I analysed my stories.
Okay.
Anyway, this girl, she typed it up and she said, "I'd love to," I said, "Well, would you like to meet it? Would you like to meet me, etc." So we met, and she then sent me her assignment, and would you believe, even with meeting me, her response was that, in my words now, not hers, that my experiences may have been grandiose, like made up bigger
Oh my
than
gosh.
what it is, because she's met me and she didn't see the correlation of the experiences that I had didn't match up with the disfigurement that she was expecting me to have.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, so and this was on a, it's not a published piece. She just gave it to me out of curiosity, and I'm not naming her, I'm not naming the things. And she did say, I had to write to a performer sort of thing of standards of what was expected. But even when she'd actually spoken to me, even when she'd actually had time with me, and then she thought about it and she'd written it up after our conversation, she still minimized my experiences, my lived experience,
that's wild.
Because of the disfigurement, because of the myth out there, the greater the disfigurement, the greater the distress.
Right.
That's we know within our community that is not right.
Yeah, that's
because
wild.
You would get stared at still, and I would get stared at still. I go out in public, and I get avoided and stared at. Like yesterday, I was at a space and place, and it was actually quite refreshing. I had a mum and a child who didn't ask. The kid didn't look at me and scrunch their eye up, or mirror me and rub their eye. And the mum was beautiful, and I didn't even have to say anything about me, or self-disclose. But anyway, getting back to AI, I was concerned, as I was saying all that, because I was concerned about going through and seeing whether or not my face would be deemed a face or not a face because of my eye. So
that's wild. Yeah. When Face Equality International did a survey of people worldwide with facial differences, and they found, and it's on their website if you want to find it, it's like faceequality.org, Face Equality International. If you Google it, you can find it. But they did a survey, and there's a huge percentage of people with all kinds of facial differences that have gotten. I actually don't have problems at the airport for some reason. I don't know why. But I've been in and out traveling, and I've never had a problem with the airport ones, but it's a huge percentage of people that do. So it's kind of wild. I also had problems with my iPhone. I got a new iPhone, and you know how you have to like set up the Face ID? Well, it wouldn't like do the circle. It wouldn't like, it was like, there's no face here. And it wouldn't, and my husband was like, oh, there's something wrong with your phone. Take it to the Apple store. And then we did it on him, and it worked right away. So I was like, it's my freaking face. It's not this, my phone's not broken. But I was able to actually go in, and you can change some of the security settings so that it's not as like, it's less secure, which is fine, but it's not as sensitive. And so it finally was able to find my face. So my face does usually unlock my phone for the most part. But you kind of have to get around it, and sometimes
I didn't even want to do that. I've got the Face Equality International down below.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I might have been going everywhere, but I was like, I'll find it.
That's perfect. Yeah, so they did a great study, and I think they're going to do probably some follow-up studies. And they're really, they've got a person now on staff that's like a policy person, and she's amazing. She's been doing some really good, like they're working on some more research, and with sort of like a working group of folks that have been going, we've got a couple of researchers that are interested in disability rights folks that are kind of sitting around doing like we're meeting every few months to kind of like figure out what to do. Because the big question is this. So for the facial difference community, the question is, obviously people are having issues, but here, what do people want? Like, do they want to opt out of the facial recognition, or do they want to train the AI to be able to recognize our faces? Or do we want both? Like, I kind of want both. Like, I want to be able to opt out if I need to, but I also would like them to just be able to see my, realize it's a very dehumanizing.
I am here. Yeah.
Well, it's very dehumanizing. Right. There's a machine telling you that you're not a human. Like, it's very strange. It's feeling you're like, I'm right here, and the stupid AI, and the fact that the humans. And I think the other question is, what do the humans do when the AI doesn't work? And that's sort of the issue too. Like, again, with the DMV, they kept taking a photo. They didn't know what to do. But if they are, if they have different protocols for when the AI doesn't work, that are, more amenable to the population of those of us with facial differences, that would be ideal. So they're looking at how do we come up with sort of like a strategy, or what's our campaign? Like, what do we want as a community? So yeah, I think really the opting out and the training. I mean, they've asked if people would be interested in sharing their photos to be able to train AI. And I'm like, I would be fine with that. Like, I have no, they would do it in a way that was like protecting the data and protecting the people. Like, there's certain ways to do that, ethical ways. But I was like, I would totally be fine with helping to train AI with, to understand the vast diversity of faces out there. So that's kind of, but the other flip side is this. So I've been doing all kinds of research and reading, and it's very interesting, is that they've actually developed some new AI technologies that doctors can use to scan a face and say, oh, you have XYZ syndrome. So that's kind of a new, there's a lot of people in third world countries that don't have access to doctors or to the medical, systems that can diagnose some of these really rare syndromes. And so, perhaps, in some ways that could be useful. I don't know.
But, if they've got electricity and they've got access.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But they need a little bit more than just.
Right. Well, it's wild because I it's interesting. It's like part of me is a little bit hesitant, like, oh my gosh, so they could scan my face and know that I have Freeman-Sheldon syndrome? Like, that's a little wild too. So, and then you're talking about the bigger picture of just like the surveillance, state, and especially what's happening in the US right now, where, things are not going very well when it comes to civil liberties or human rights. And, I often wonder if I'm that they've been scanning people's faces at protests, and, now even apparently keeping lists of people that, that are supposedly now considered, terrorists, which is just ridiculous. But anyway, I'm like, oh, if they can't scan my face, maybe I can go out and protest and not, they won't know who I am, which, but yeah, there's just so many implications to it.
There is.
Yeah. And then the other part of it, sorry, I'm like getting really into it, but like the other part that's really interesting is, so they've also been doing, how you apply for jobs, the AI has now been really involved in hiring. And so they go through your resume and they pick up keywords. And apparently now they're having where when you do an interview, the AI actually, it like reads your facial expressions and your movements, and supposedly it determines your personality and your abilities based on your face. And it's absolutely ridiculous, and it ethically is just wrong. I mean, I don't even know why or how this is even being used. And there's been a lot of ethical questions about it and research and stuff, but like this is where we're at now as far as the world is concerned, and AI. It's
and some of us, I can't, when I'm looking at you and I'm looking empathetically as I can, like I'm trying to now, people misread and misjudge. And this is with just an eye issue or just with full ptosis. People misread you and misread your body language because your face is holds lots of keys and cues, and when you
Right.
cannot make those cues,
Right. And I
if you've
can't
got
really make a lot of
spell
expressions.
palsy
Yeah.
or anything like that, then
Yeah. How do you?
we've got communication disorders, which
Right.
are
Right.
not necessarily spoken about. People
Right.
living with facial difference or facial disfigurement or visible difference, we do, and we are often misinterpreted. Our
Yeah.
our face is misinterpreted, and when
Absolutely. Yeah.
we are doing exactly the same thing as a quote, a normal
Yeah.
person or a typical person's face would be,
Right.
and our face doesn't match it. So this is what
Right. It's like,
I've come up with. If you don't fit in between these two norms, right? This is kind of like a normal face. My face is in the middle. And if you fall out to the more severe side of facial disfigurement, where people, usually go and say, "Oh, why don't you, why did your mother, why didn't your mother kill you at
yeah.
birth or
Yeah. That
whatever
kind
else?"
of crap. Yeah.
These are these things, and you don't fit into. So you've got that, where the myth, the greater the disfigurement, the greater the distress comes from.
Right.
And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, where I come from, where it's just it's just an eye. Suck it up, princess. Get on with it. Stop sucking. Stop thinking that you're a thing, because there's plenty more people worse off than you. We, on this other hand, we are actually marginalized as well.
Oh
But we
yeah.
are
Totally.
marginalized because our facial disfigurement is not as grandiose or as severe as what people's images are,
Right.
what people think of. But yet, when it comes to reading our faces and that, we both fall outside of that
Right.
spectrum, whereby miscommunication happens,
Yeah, I
regardless
really
of
think
whether or not
eyes
our
are a
face.
key part of your face, and
They
so I
are.
really think I'm sure people looking around, it's and they notice, like, it's not,
I'm
like,
biased.
I don't think,
That's what I
I
expect. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's definitely
biased. But
yeah,
when it comes to your eyes, if there's something wonky or weird about your
yeah,
eyes,
yeah, you
people
notice it right
find that
away.
off-putting.
Yeah,
'Cause
definitely.
most of the world, not all of the world, but most of the world, we would like, a sign of respect is direct eye contact when you're looking at a
Right.
person.
Yep.
You're engaged with them, you're expecting things,
Yeah.
your communication style is there.
Right.
However, when you fall on either end of those, that
Yeah,
spectrum,
totally.
it can be really misconstrued
Yeah.
when and so therefore we have to go above and beyond a
Right,
lot
to
of the
do yeah.
time to try and get ourselves understood clearly,
Yeah.
even though our communication is the same.
Yeah, I noticed for me, I think people might assume that, I get more, I don't know how to describe it, like people treating me more different. But what's really interesting is I feel like, and ever since I was little, I always feel like I let my personality out in a way. And so
Mm.
that people, especially when I was a kid, kids at first would be like, huh, you look different. Why is that? But then once they get over that, they're like, whatever, you're fun,
Yeah,
let's play. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
the kids get over it really fast. And so I was really lucky because I went to a very small private school where
Mm.
it was all the same kids. It was like from early on all the way through high school. And so it was a
Oh,
great school, really academically rigorous.
blessing.
But like it was the kids, so
Very
the kids knew
blessing.
me. They knew me from a
Yeah.
young age. They were over
And they
it
didn't
by
care.
way. And then so I was able to develop really good friendships. Nobody bothered me, and if they did, there was hell to pay because like a bunch of folks would like be out there to protect me. But like I had a really amazing group of friends just all through school and high school.
Mm.
I loved school. I loved being there. I felt really like I could be myself.
Mhm.
Like I said, nobody really gave me any trouble. And
'Cause it
if they did, they would be they'd have trouble to pay. But like not from me, but like my friends are always like, don't mess with
mm.
her. And but
So
I think in a way, yeah.
one of the keys that I'm learning from you is that parents who've got children with visible difference or facial disfigurement may want to, out of your experience,
Mhm.
um, to look for a prep to year 12 or
Yeah,
school that
I was
they can
really,
transfer
really lucky.
through.
because I feel like a public school would have been a whole different ball. The other thing is that like the kids in my school, they were, very intelligent, but also if you misbehaved or you were difficult or whatever, you were kicked out. So there was we really didn't have like the bullies like I think other schools may have had. You'd be gone like long ago if you were, so it was just a really amazing group of really like just genuine and respectful. And we were taught also at the school, it was a Quaker school. It was really focused on sort of, the values of Quakerism and diversity and respect. And so everyone just embodied that in a way, and the teachers did. And so I don't really feel like even the teachers didn't really treat me differently. It was like I was just one of everyone, I was just part. Now the thing is that if I went anywhere publicly, like to the grocery store or something like that, that was a whole other story. But like when I was in my school bubble, with my friends and stuff, I was, happy, it was great. I felt normal. I didn't really feel different, so it was really an extraordinarily, good experience, because I've talked to other people that have had the opposite, which is the bullying and the just awful experiences. And like I said, I remember being stared at like we go to the zoo or we go to, the grocery store or something. But, and again, too, my sister would, go up to them. My sister would growl at them or something to do something. So I always had people around me that were like protecting me too, but I feel like in a way, and even through jobs and even like places I worked, at first people might be a little bit like, I could tell they're not really sure of me, but then once we start to engage and get to know each other, they're like, oh, okay, it's great, whatever. And I feel like people then just sort of let their guard down, and it's definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many of us who have gone through school, primary and secondary, or I'm not unscathed, but relatively unscathed, and having had that bubble, as you called it.
It was amazing. I want to go back to it. I'm like, I want to go back to school. I miss those days.
Yes, I would too. The world out there is pretty gruesome. Do you think that people usually say to me, we've made such inroads, and we are actually understand more about this, people with differences now. My experience has been, yes, that may be the case, but people living with facial disfigurement still get what people in wheelchairs 30 years got.
I feel like it's up to us though too, to really be out there. That's why I like just running for public office and being out there and showing that I just happen to have a facial difference, but I can do other things. Like I feel like representing is important, and even in my jobs and stuff too, like just people getting to know me after, I think it just helps to just defray the whole stigma, or whatever, however you call it. But even I was married, my ex-husband was in a wheelchair, and when we would go out, sometimes people, would be like, oh my gosh, look at these two, and he would like make up stories about like, oh, we got attacked by a shark or something, or like he was just hilarious. But he took a lot of, he was very humorous about it, and kind of in your face or whatever, a little bit to people about, being in a wheelchair, but he would make funny comments or whatever. But he would ride like he'd ride on the escalator by like grabbing on with his wheelchair and riding up, and people would try to like jump in and try to like take him off the escalator, and he'd be like, leave me alone, like, because that's really dangerous to do. But it's dangerous to try to take someone off the escalator when they're in a wheelchair. But he'd be like, no, ride the escalator up and down and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And so it's like I feel like in a way being disabled and being out there and just showing that we're normal people is part of the way.
With labels, do you identify with being disabled?
That's it's really funny. It depends kind of on what day it is, because like I consider myself different, but like I'm not disabled in that there's not really anything I can't do that other people can do, and I feel like other disabled people don't really consider me disabled. I think there's a little bit. I think there's a tough part of the facial difference community is really fitting into the disabled community is still kind of happening. So it's tricky. And again, with my feet, like I've had all the surgeries and the casting and the leg braces, and I think I felt a little more disabled with that as a kid. But like now it's not really, it's a, you know, daily thing. I don't really think about. It's just, yeah, my feet are flat and they don't bend, but that's not really a big deal. So it's tough. Like, as far, and I don't like to think, I don't want to have this like, oh, I'm disabled, poor me kind of, you know, attitude, because I feel like people read that too. It's like people read your energy, right? If you put out in the world like, here I am, like take it or leave it, it's like people will just, you know, deal with it. And it's like a way to weed out people, superficial people from your life. It's like, well, if you're not going to pay attention to me, then I don't really want you in my life. Like, who cares? You know, I'm very, you know, it's like a nice way to weed out people that normally you wouldn't really want in your life to begin with. So, but I really haven't dealt with a lot of, and I don't really get that many comments or anything often. Like it's very, you know, occasionally, but I don't, it's not as much as people always think that I would, which is interesting. And I think as I gotten older, I know it's weird, like being a middle-aged woman, like nobody notices me anymore. Sometimes out there, I'm like, look at me, don't you see me? Like, hello. And nobody gives a second glance. I'm like, when I was younger and I was like really fashion conscious, you know, everyone would look at me. And yes, they look at my face too, but you know, it's a really strange time in my life where I'm, you know, slightly overweight now. And I'm like, you know, I'm just a you know, middle-aged woman that just doesn't, you don't get the attention that you do when you're younger.
I'm just wondering, my thoughts are, even though I remember and recall you saying that you really liked fashion, do you think that, and yes, fashion is great. See, I didn't do fashion, I went the other way.
Well, now I'm not, no, I'm not fashionable,
but what would you think, or would it be a fair enough statement to say that perhaps you use that for yourself, but for them to see your fashion statement rather than your face,
right? As my personality, I think definitely.
As a camouflage kind of thing for your face.
Yeah, I think in a way it's sort of just a show, like this is who I am. Like this doesn't, you know, and you know, my mom was interesting too growing up. She wouldn't let me wear my hair up. She had very specific rules because she thought it was too harsh, and like she would make me wear my hair down, which was always like in my face. And you know, so certain things. So I didn't have control over a lot of things. Which now I realize that was not, even into my like teens, like she was like, you can't wear your hair in a ponytail, you can't, like it was ridiculous. And now of course I wear it up all the time just because I can't, you know, it's like, well, screw that.
Got a Pollyanna.
But I could control,
oh no.
I was like, I could control my clothes. I could wear, you know, pick out my clothes, wear whatever I wanted. So that's what I had control over. And so, you know, that felt like I could be me. And and yeah, so I used to be much more like, nowadays, you know, I work from home remotely. I go out, but it's like, I'm not super into fashion. I like fashion, but I'm not like, I don't dress up in like amazing fashionable things like I used to, but I still like it. I mean, I definitely notice, you know, when things when people have, you know, some people just have it, you know, they just have the look. My nephew is he's very fashion conscious. So I'm so thrilled that he has his own look. Like it's so cute. He's 11, no 10, sorry. He's 10 going on 15. And yeah, he's got his very cool look. And I just think it's great. I love it.
Excellent. Well, we've spoken about AI, we've spoken about about our differences in our experiences with AI or the threat of AI, and how the world through your research has been dealing with AI and Face Equality International. I'm very familiar with them as well. And I'd just like to say thank you very much. Is there any takeaways that you'd like to say, or any last words before we wind up?
Not in particular. No, I think it's been really lovely talking to you. And AI is here to stay, unfortunately, and it's gonna just get more and more. So I'm, you know, yeah, it's exactly. So it's like, hold on tight here, hats, people, because it's going wild. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much again for your time, Autumn, and your knowledge and your expertise in this area. And I'm very, very glad that you've had basically a childhood minus all those terrible trauma, hospital trauma, but you've had a beautiful childhood and teen years, all wrapped up in this bubble of going from prep to year 12 kind of thing.
Yep.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I will go and find out where I put these things. Oh, is it there? No, it's not there. It's under there. Yes. No, it's... Is it under here? Yes, it's under there. Sorry. It's like, And I'll say bye-bye. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
By golly gosh, it's the end of Karibu Anawim's 15 Minutes at Dr. Zaley's Desk special. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember that all information given during this episode is for general application only. If you have any specific medical issues, as always, consult with your medical practitioner. Like, subscribe and share on whatever platform you find us on. For more information, please connect with Karibu Anawim on our website at karibuanawim.com or email us at inquiries@karibuanawim.com.